Biden declares major disaster in Mississippi as forecasters warn of more tornadoes after 26 were killed. The National Weather Service warned that severe thunderstorms will bring the possibility of a couple of strong tornadoes across the central Gulf states on Sunday. Trees toppled, roofs collapsed, power lines and poles listing precariously over roads after a tornado reduced much of it to rubble as it ripped through the Mississippi Delta late Friday, leaving a trail of devastation in one of the poorest regions of the country. At least 25 people were killed in Mississippi, and one man died in Alabama. It sounded like a freight train, Andrew Denard, 28, told NBC News Saturday, adding that an airborne piece of wood narrowly missed his head as it crashed into his home in Rolling Fork, shattering glass. "I don't think we're going to rebuild from this," Denard added. "It's worse than death." Early Sunday, President Joe Biden declared a major disaster in Mississippi and ordered federal aid to supplement recovery efforts, the White House said in a statement. Deanne Criswell, administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, was also scheduled to visit on Sunday to evaluate the destruction. But as recovery efforts continued, the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center warned that severe thunderstorms would bring the possibility of a couple of strong tornadoes across the central Gulf states on Sunday. As a result, the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency tweeted that residents should have a plan and know their safe place. It came after Governor Tate Reeves issued a state of emergency and vowed to help rebuild the region dotted with wide expanses of cotton, corn, and soybean fields and catfish farming ponds. More than half a dozen shelters were opened in the state to house those displaced. According to early data, Friday's tornado received a preliminary EF4 rating, the National Weather Service office in Jackson said in a tweet late Saturday. An EF4 tornado has top wind gusts between 166 miles per hour and 200 miles per hour, according to the service. Trump's first 24 rally has a familiar feel, anger and attacks on his tormentors. It was Donald Trump's first formal rally of the campaign, but the former president spent the evening sticking with the usual hits, emphasizing personal grievances and going after his nearest targets, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the Manhattan District Attorney who is poised to indict him. Appearing before a crowd of cheering supporters, Trump offered up the type of political bravado and bulldog mentality that he is known for, mocking DeSantis, who is widely seen as his strongest rival for the Republican nomination, for not doing better in the polls. "Man, he's dropping like a rock," Trump said of the Florida governor. "They keep saying DeSantis could do well with farmers. I don't think so. Based on polls, he's not doing well with anything." Trump went on to do a dramatic reenactment of DeSantis pleading for his endorsement in the 2018 Florida governor's race. The former president said that after he grudgingly backed DeSantis, the candidate became like a rocket ship and prevailed in the primary and general election, and argued that had he not backed him, DeSantis would have never won. The audience seemed game to stand for hours under the central Texas sun and listen to Trump's litany of complaints. They and the event itself offered a vivid illustration of the fault lines that have quickly opened up in the very early GOP primary, in which fealty to Trump appears to be one of the main litmus tests for those running. Indeed, rallygoers here in Waco expressed disappointment that DeSantis had not gone further in his defense of Trump as he stares down a possible indictment from the Manhattan District Attorney. Louise Negri from Lometa, Texas, said DeSantis might be a traitor. Her friend, Renee Alanis, agreed, referencing the Florida governor's implicit mocking of Trump for being involved in an alleged hush money payment to a porn star, which has been the central issue in his potential indictment. Kyiv doctor killed in Russian airstrike shows war's fallout far from front. Oksana Leontьeva was late for work. The 36-year-old doctor was due at Ukraine's top children's hospital, where she treated patients with cancer and other serious diseases. But first, she had to get her son to kindergarten. An air raid siren was blaring across Kyiv, which meant, according to school rules, that Oksana, a widow and single mom, could not drop him off. It was October 10th. The alerts had been sounding for months, but there had been no strikes in the Ukrainian capital since the early weeks of Russia's invasion. Most people went on with their lives. "I may be late for the morning meeting," Oksana texted her colleagues at 7:25 a.m. Issues with accepting kids. Finally, the school staff relented. Oksana told Risha, a blonde, dark-eyed boy, goodbye. She put the car in gear and pulled out. By October, more than 7 months after Russian President Vladimir Putin sent a column of tanks rumbling toward Kyiv in a failed takeover attempt, and easy calm had settled over the city. Businesses reopened. After a quiet summer, displaced families flocked back from abroad, hoping to restart their lives. That morning, as people bustled through their routines, dozens of Russian missiles streaked low and fast across a clear sky, tracking west across Ukraine from the Caspian Sea and other launch sites. A little after 8, 2 missiles hurtled downward toward Kyiv's leafy Shevchenkivsky district. One slammed into a busy intersection, ripping a massive crater in the concrete as it erupted in a ball of fire. In an instant, the blast incinerated Oksana Leontiev's car. She was just a mile from the hospital. The strike at the junction of Volodymyrska Street and Tarasa Shevchenko Boulevard was part of a barrage of more than 80 missiles and drones targeting the entire country. At least 19 people were killed. It was the first wave in what would become months of relentless Russian strikes aimed at cutting electricity, heat, and water during winter. Republican lawmaker calls TikTok an immediate threat and calls for app to be banned. The chairwoman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee said on CNN's State of the Union that Congress should pass a data privacy law and ban TikTok in the U.S. after the company's CEO Shou Chew testified in front of her committee on Thursday. McMorris Rodgers said Chew's testimony made clear that TikTok is a threat to the U.S. What the hearing made clear to me was that TikTok should be banned in the United States of America to address the immediate threat, and we also need a national data privacy law. The Republican lawmaker cited TikTok and its parent company as being connected to China as evidence of the national security risk. While many nations have imposed bans on official government devices out of national security concerns, there is currently no public evidence the Chinese government has spied on people through TikTok. The company told CNN in a statement, "The best way to address concerns about national security is with the transparent US-based protection of US user data and systems with robust third-party monitoring, vetting and verification, which we are already implementing." On Sunday, McMorris Rodgers responded to criticism from TikTok users, many of whom mocked lawmakers for their lack of familiarity with the app and questioned why Congress would spend time regulating social media. She noted the rare bipartisan agreement on the national security risks the app presents. "I would say there is an immediate threat via TikTok from the Chinese Communist Party. That is the reason that I believe we need to ban TikTok immediately. It is a national security threat," McMorris Rodgers said. It united Republicans and Democrats on the committee as to the urgent need for us to take action. McMorris Rodgers also emphasized the need to pass a national data privacy law to restrict all social media platforms from collecting user data, including those based in the U.S. "We need to take action, whether it's TikTok, big tech, or other data brokers, to restrict the amount of data that they're collecting to begin with," she said.